Today, we will together explore one of the most profound and controversial philosophical ideas. War is the father of all things, the king of everything. This is the famous declaration of Heraclitus, the ancient Greek philosopher who lived over 2,500 years ago. This statement is not just a philosophical idea but also a lens through which to view the nature of life. From the great conflicts in history to the small struggles within each of us. Today, we will delve deeply into this philosophy, with stories, examples, and practical lessons. Grab a cup of coffee, sit comfortably, and let's begin. First, let's get acquainted with Heraclitus, known as the obscure philosopher, or sometimes the weeping philosopher, because he often lamented the ignorance of the masses. Born in Ephesus, an ancient Greek city around the 6th century BCE, Heraclitus did not leave behind a complete book. Instead, he wrote short, powerful philosophical fragments, like riddles that challenge us to reflect. At the core of Heraclitus's thought is change. He said, Panta rhei, everything flows. The river you bathe in today is not the same river tomorrow. And you yourself are changing every second. Among his teachings, the statement, war is the father of all things, is one of the most shocking yet profoundly meaningful. Let's explore what he truly meant. When Heraclitus said, war is the father of all things, the king of everything, he was not only referring to bloody battles or military conflicts between nations. In ancient Greek, the word polemos has a much broader meaning. It refers to conflict, contradiction, or opposition at every level of reality, from the cosmic to the struggles within the human mind. For Heraclitus, conflict is not something negative or to be avoided but the essential force that drives change and progress. Imagine a lyre. To produce beautiful sound, the strings must be stretched, creating tension between two ends. Without tension, without conflict, there would be no music. Heraclitus believed the universe operates in a similar way. Everything, from life and death, light and darkness, to joy and pain, is born from opposition. He said, opposition brings harmony. Day cannot exist without night. And victory only has meaning when there is defeat. But how does conflict create order? This is where we need to understand Heraclitus's concept of logos. Logos is the universal law, a supreme rationality that governs everything. Think of logos as a conductor in an orchestra. Even if the instruments play different, even opposing melodies, logos ensures they blend into a symphony. For Heraclitus, war, or opposition, is the way logos operates, turning chaos into order, conflict into creation. Let's dive deeper. Heraclitus also used fire as a symbol for change and conflict. Fire constantly transforms. It burns, destroys, but also warms and creates light. In Heraclitus's universe, fire represents the dynamic nature of reality, where everything is born and perishes in an eternal cycle. War, here can be understood as the fire of opposition, burning the old to make way for the new. Consider a simple example in nature to understand better. A pristine forest may be devastated by a wildfire, an event that seems destructive. But afterward, the ashes from the fire become nutrients for the soil, helping new seeds sprout. Conflict, the wildfire, leads to rebirth, the new forest. This is how Heraclitus saw the world. Conflict is not the end but the beginning of a new cycle. Heraclitus also applied this idea to humans. He said, we must know that war is universal, and conflict is justice. This means that conflict is not only inevitable but also just, as it reflects the nature of reality. When two opposing opinions clash, truth often emerges from that struggle. When two teams compete, excellence is revealed through competition. Even within each person's mind, the struggle between reason and emotion, between desire and duty, is how we grow and shape ourselves. Another noteworthy aspect is that Heraclitus did not view conflict as merely destructive. He believed it is creative. Think about the process of evolution in biology. Species compete for survival, and over millions of years, this competition leads to the emergence of new, more complex species. Heraclitus, though unaware of evolutionary theory, grasped the idea that conflict is the driving force of development. Now, let's take Heraclitus's philosophy out of the abstract world and apply it to human history. If war is the father of all things, then history is a vivid testament to this idea. Conflict, whether military, political, ideological, or cultural, has shaped the world we live in. Let's explore some specific examples to see how conflict has driven creation. Let's start with the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries. This was a period when machines began replacing manual labor, leading to major conflicts between social classes. Workers feared losing their jobs, while capitalists sought to optimize production. This tension was not just an economic battle but also an ideological struggle between tradition and progress, between manual labor and technology. The result? Conflict gave birth to great inventions: James Watt's steam engine, railways, industrial looms. These technologies not only changed how people worked but also ushered in an era of urbanization, global trade, and modern science. But what's fascinating is that even in this progress, conflict persisted. Workers organized strikes. Thinkers like Karl Marx wrote about class conflict. And from there, social movements emerged, fighting for labor rights. Conflict led to conflict, and each time, the world took a step forward. Let's go back to the Renaissance. From the 14th to 17th centuries, after centuries dominated by religion and tradition, Europe faced a major ideological conflict between faith and reason, between the church and science. Thinkers like Copernicus, Galileo, and Kepler challenged the view that the Earth was the center of the universe, an idea fiercely defended by the church. This opposition was not easy. Galileo was even placed under house arrest for his ideas. But from this conflict, modern science was born. The Renaissance was not just a period of beautiful paintings by Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, but also a time when humans began questioning the universe, exploring astronomy, and laying the foundation for the scientific revolution. The conflict between the old and the new created a new world. Fast forward to the 20th century. Let's look at the Cold War, one of the most tense conflicts in modern history. Yet fortunately, it did not lead to all-out war. The confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union is a prime example of war, in Heraclitus's sense. The two superpowers competed in military, technological, and ideological domains. But one of the most remarkable outcomes was the space race. This competition drove incredible advances, from the launch of the Sputnik satellite in 1957 to humans landing on the moon in 1969. Technologies developed during this period, such as GPS, telecommunications satellites, and even the early internet, all stemmed from the conflict between the two nations. Without this opposition, we might not yet dream of exploring the cosmos. Conflict is not only a driver in science or politics but also in art. Think about art movements like Impressionism or Cubism. In the late 19th century, painters like Monet and Renoir broke the traditional rules of painting, sparking controversy among critics. They were criticized for their blurry paintings that defied classical standards. But this conflict opened a new way of seeing art, leading to later innovative movements like Expressionism or Surrealism. Similarly, in music, conflict between genres has created turning points. Think about the birth of rock and roll in the 1950s, when artists like Elvis Presley blended African American blues with white country music. Despite opposition from a conservative society, the result was a musical revolution, paving the way for new genres like punk, hip-hop, and EDM. Finally, let's zoom in to the personal level. Each of us experiences internal wars. A student may struggle between pursuing a career their family desires and following their passion for art. An entrepreneur may face a conflict between taking risks to start a business or keeping a stable job. These conflicts, though small, are the driving force for self-discovery and growth. Think about J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Before her success, she endured years of hardship, struggling with poverty, depression, and societal pressure. These wars drove her to write one of the world's most famous book series. Conflict, as Heraclitus said, became the father of creation. So, how can we apply the philosophy of war is the father of all things to our lives today? Here are some practical ways. Life is full of conflicts, between work and family, between dreams and reality, between the you of yesterday and the you of today. Instead of avoiding them, learn to embrace them. Heraclitus teaches us that conflict is not the enemy but an opportunity for growth. For example, when you argue with a colleague about a project, instead of just trying to win, see the conflict as a chance to find a better solution. Heraclitus emphasized that harmony comes from opposition. In life, this means we need to balance opposites. Work hard but rest enough. Be confident but remain humble. Think of an athlete. To achieve success, they must push their body to its limits but also need time to recover. The opposition between training and rest creates strength. If everything flows, as Heraclitus said, resisting change is futile. Instead, learn to adapt. In an era of rapid technological advancement, successful people are those willing to learn, change, and even abandon old habits. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses that quickly shifted to remote work overcame challenges, while those clinging to old models struggled. Heraclitus once said, "I search for myself." Conflict, both external and internal, is how we better understand ourselves. When you face a heated argument or a tough decision, ask yourself, what does this say about my values? What do I really want? Conflict is a mirror reflecting your true self.